Well, what we're trying to do is we're saying, listen, we're calculating survival. You got to calculate your survival in every situation, whether it be urban or the wilderness. Because, when we get down to it, a lot of people have problems both when they get lost in the wild or get lost in the city. So what we're trying to teach is, honestly, self-defense is your last thing. The only reason why you need self-defense is because you didn't detect and you didn't deter. If you had situational awareness, you probably wouldn't have even been in that situation or known enough to be in that situation. So like the video that we are just releasing on Sunday is going to be about, hey, listen, guys, your defense is your last thing. And you're only doing that to protect the life and body of yourself or someone you love. Property, you let go. You can always replace it. But before that, you should have prepared. You should have had some awareness to be able to detect and then to deter. Your last case
last resort
is self-defense. The 4 pillars of survival success is called fate. So what is your fate if you need to survive? And that's fitness, attitude, training, and equipment. And each one of those is a different factor, and they don't all need to be equal. They don't all need to be maxed out in order for you to survive a situation.
Living and breathing La Vida Boa. Welcome to the Boa Life Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Demora, alongside host Nick Colhay. We're here to learn. We're here to survive. We're here to learn how to survive.
What's up, everybody? I'm your co-host, Nick Colhay. Welcome to the Boa Life Podcast, episode 31. Y'all ready to do this?
Let's go. Well, I'm honored. I don't even know how to introduce you guys because you are, the Kukk law firm, your family. I started off as a little kid. Well, I shouldn't say a little kid, a young man playing soccer with you guys in summers in New Fairfield. Younger,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, no gray hair. No gray hair
younger.
back then.
And now, calculated survival, like chasing a dream, kind of similar to what, my co-host and I are doing. What do you got going on right now with this calculated survival?
So, from playing soccer in the days and all this, that, before becoming an attorney, I was in the military for a number of years. And then becoming an attorney and a lawyer is not all that exciting, but it does pay the bills. So then...
wasn't your dream, was it?
No, it definitely wasn't my dream. It was my mother-in-law's dream, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so, when we first got together, her mom, because I was a soldier, says, why are you marrying him? You should marry a doctor or a lawyer. And the only reason why
the prophecy.
the only reason why I didn't want to be a lawyer is to make her right. Yeah. So, but then fast forward many years later and enter Luke, who is my future son-in-law, who is dating Cora, who you played against soccer as well. I mean, you used to beat my ass, but she beat yours. So, things go in full circle.
Turn about as fair play.
So one day we were, as all good stories start, we were drinking rum, and it was late at night. All of us was there, plus a good friend of ours, Jeff Harrington, who's a Brookfield cop, her father, who is a rocket scientist and retired Army. And Luke asked a simple question to me. What was the question?
Well, so I always like innovating. Everything in my life has always kind of revolved around some form of innovation. In fact, our channel, believe it or not, before Calculated Survival was called Rugged Innovations, because I would try to break stuff and see where is this going to have a problem? Where is it going to break? Where can I improve on this? So that's kind of always been at the core of my being, is break something. Oh, it broke here. That's where we got to focus our efforts on trying to fix it or make it better. But here I am on my massive and beautiful quest of trying to come up with the best blade, the ultimate survival blade. And I'm like, okay, so Erik, what you operate with? Do you operate with, what knife did you operate with? And he was like, I didn't. If I had a knife, it was to open cans, but I used a hatchet. I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. So then, actually, Calculated Survival more was born upon the idea of the ultimate survival hatchet, which, believe it or not, we're working on the IP for, but or if not, we already That's a you question.
Let's skip that.
Oh, all right. No, I'm just trying to say.
We do have the IP for it.
Right,
but,
that's
yeah.
what I'm trying to say. Okay. Yeah, so we're still working on that. There's things to work out about it, but basically we want everything that you need to survive in the wilderness inside of one package, and that would be your hatchet.
It's unbelievable how you guys all came together and everybody works in different ways to try to fulfill this dream. How do you guys keep it all organized? I mean, how do you guys make sure you're all working in tandem and doing what you need to do?
Well, that would not be me and Luke. That would be the two engineers. So before Michelle became an attorney, she was a mechanical engineer. And now Cora has her master's in biomedical engineering. So if we need anything to be kept on direction or in line, we go to the engineers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically.
Nick,
How stressful is that, having him come to you with the logistics behind it and having to perform? And
Usually we go to them and say, you're not organized. Figure this out now.
so that's how it starts.
So usually we're going at them and be like, we're supposed to do this, this, and this within the next week. And then usually they're like, oh, I don't remember that. Can we push that or extend the timeline or change it? I would definitely have to say that I have a little more OCD than she does. So scheduling and organizing is definitely more of my wheelhouse than hers. But she's usually good at the nagging part, I guess, to make sure everything goes as it should.
So this was started with the idea to make the perfect hatchet.
Correct.
How did it start by evolving into a massive YouTube channel and following and putting yourselves on camera?
Well, I think probably our first video that did really well actually did better on Instagram than anything. It started with a short, and it was, because they just bought the property in front with a pond, and they stocked it with trout, which we tried fishing that yesterday, and we can't find a single trout in that pond. But that video got 11,000 in like an hour, and it sparked something where I was like, oh crap, this is where we need to focus our attention to get more, coverage and stuff. And basically it was how to boil water really fast. So we're feeding the fish, and as soon as you throw the fish food on top of the pond, the water looks like it's boiling. Just the fish went nuts. So that got really a lot of coverage. And then what hit next was a TikTok video. Actually got us attention from a producer for TLC, Teresa Bennett, and she reached out. She wanted to, I guess, talk to me or whatever. I didn't get the part, but the next video was that TikTok video where I reviewed the $6 Harbor Freight survival knife, and I basically trashed it. And I didn't do too great of a job. It was my first time doing a knife review. Got like 5 million so far, 5 million views already. It got 1 million the first day that we posted it. It got us 10,000 followers. We were at 41. We had 41 followers, posted that video, and it just exploded.
And this was Instagram or a YouTube
TikTok.
short?
TikTok.
Oh, TikTok.
That was TikTok.
Yeah. So we post videos to TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. We should be doing Pinterest and Twitter, but we are too lazy for that. So
I don't know where you guys find the time.
Yeah, it's amazing that you have the time to do all this. It's like you just find the time, especially when it's for kind of the reasons you're doing it for. I know that you're worried about soldiers and some of the issues that they face and challenges they face after serving, and I know you promote health and stuff like that. It's amazing how this can really expand to so many different places. I think Nick and I constantly. We love doing this because we get to hear so many stories of people helping other people or helping themselves or trying to figure out how to be more helpful or how to be better. I think that a lot of your success probably comes from the fact that you guys are doing this for one, phenomenal reasons, and then you're doing it as a family. I mean, you have a future son-in-law that's involved. This is a family business. I mean, wherever it goes, it's definitely a family business. Who is the one that's coming up with the most creative content? Are you guys ever competing for that, or is that
pretty much just me and Erik?
Those two.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And when it comes out to our new innovations, typically he comes up with an idea and is like, Luke, you got to figure this out.
Yeah, consider me like more James Bond, and he's the Q. Yeah, he's Q. So I just say, hey, listen, this is like, for instance, we were going down to Mexico, and I did all the research. You can't even have a knife down in Mexico or anything that looks like a weapon, because then it's illegal to be considered a weapon. So I basically walked up to Luke and I said, hey, listen, I need
He shows
some.
me this selfie stick, right? And it's probably like, and forgive me because my past life I was a plumber, but like a schedule, not even 10. It was like super thin wall selfie stick, and I was like, this is trash. No, sorry, you're not taking this to Mexico. He's like, I could use this as a self-defense weapon. And I'm like, absolutely not. No, this is garbage. So I took Schedule 80, which is the thickest wall aluminum pipe you can get, 3/4 inch. So it's got a 1 inch outside diameter, about 20 inches. And I threaded and tapped the end. I put a 1/4 in there. I took apart his the selfie stick and basically put it back all together. I painted it. I put on this foam handle, and that thing could probably go through a cinder block, no problem. And we call it the selfie defense stick. And every once in a while, I got to sit back and wonder, like, are we getting away from our brand here? But when it comes down to it, if you look at any of our social media or even our website, we are simplifying emergency survival for everyday people. That's what we do. And even when it comes to survival in the wilderness, like my passion, I love the outdoors. But talk about self-defense. This guy right here, I mean, his military service alone speaks to the fact that we definitely have some authority when it comes to talking about self-defense and such.
He's not the only one with self-defense background.
Yeah, a little bit. I've done some self-defense. I actually used to be a firearms instructor. And I also did teach a self-defense class. And one of the biggest things was situational awareness. I had some students in there, and I would show them a video of this kid getting robbed. And, they're like, why are you showing this video? I'm like, because he's still alive. The kid's still alive. Why? Because he gave his shit. He just gave the guy his stuff. You don't, like you were talking about before when you went to Tulum, with the guy with the Rolex. He got shot and killed because he didn't give up his Rolex. I'm sorry, but your life is worth way more than a Rolex. Your life's worth more than your phone. But yeah, just bringing awareness to people on even these self-defense levels is also part of our brand.
Well, what we're trying to do is we're saying, listen, we're calculating survival. You got to calculate your survival in every situation, whether it be urban or the wilderness. Because, when we get down to it, a lot of people have problems both when they get lost in the wild or get lost in the city. So what we're trying to teach is, like, honestly, self-defense is your last thing. The only reason why you need self-defense is because you didn't detect and you didn't deter. If you had situational awareness, you probably wouldn't have even been in that situation or known enough to be in that situation. So like the video that we are just releasing on Sunday is going to be about, hey, listen, guys, your defense is your last thing. And you're only doing that to protect the life and body of yourself or someone you love. Property, you let go. You can always replace it. But before that, you should have prepared. You should have had some awareness to be able to detect and then to deter. Your last case
last resort
is self-defense.
Because at the risk of sounding like a wimp, you should always be avoiding trouble. You should be avoiding getting lost. You should be avoiding getting into a fight. You should be avoiding all these things. Granted, once you get into that situation, you need to be able to handle it and know how to handle it. But, avoidance is the best defense, because then you don't need to actually defend yourself.
And it's good what he said, too, because I can tell you, now that we have like about 500,000 followers, everybody comes out of the woodwork. All of these, like I call them basement operators.
I call them couch cushion survivors.
Yeah, and they come out, and we're starting to learn now when we thought they were real questions or real comments being aimed at us. And a lot of the times they're getting their information from Call of Duty, from literally games that they're playing. And, like when we put out there, hey, listen, if you get lost, this is what you need to do. This is how you operate your cell phone. You have one. If you don't have one, this is what you need to do. And there's been so many comments that only idiots get lost. And I hate those comments because, you know what? I went through one, which is considered one of the hardest individual land nav schools that the United States military has to offer, which is Special Forces Assessment and Selection. And I'm going to tell you right now, I went through that. I passed it. And I can still get lost depending on where I'm at, what equipment I have, or just sometimes things happen. Sometimes, you haven't had enough sleep. Sleep deprivation will really do you. So when somebody says, listen, I've been doing this for years and I've never gotten lost, well, then you actually never really went out there and did something.
Yeah, like even recently, I took the landscape for granted, and I came out on the other side of a trail. I'm like, well, that's not where I started. But I took it for granted. I was like, oh, it's right there, so I'm going to be fine. But there was a turn in the trail, and I forgot about it. So when I went walking, I'm like, where is the trail? Why am I not there yet? And I was actually walking adjacent the trail and didn't know it. But it was just because I took it for granted.
I think that a lot of people take a lot of things for granted nowadays because of technology. Yes. We rely on it so much that in the event that we don't have it, we could have some major issues. Again, we have these conversations because we always want to learn and better be prepared for all kinds of situations. And we talk about, maps, and we talk about building foundations for a better life or for success, financial or health-wise. We're always having those kind of conversations. And today we're really focused on, surviving and being aware of your surroundings and try to make sure that, you're not going to fall prey to anyone because you're not ready for it.
Or to yourself.
Or yourself is the big one, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that
that's why one of the things we talk about is the depression. And that goes back to your attitude is a huge thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, actually,
I was going to get into.
You want to segue into that?
Yeah, I was going to segue into because I obviously did some research before I had you guys on, and I really liked what it was talking about. The 4 pillars. I mean, is that really the basis of a lot of what you guys are teaching in terms of and try to doing videos incorporating that kind of philosophy?
Yeah, if you can organize and
Erik,
simplify.
define it?
What's that?
You want to define it?
Yeah, we should define what it is. So we decided that the 4 pillars of survival success is called fate. So what is your fate if you need to survive? And that's fitness, attitude, training, and equipment. And each one of those is a different factor, and they don't all need to be equal. They don't all need to be maxed out in order for you to survive a situation. Like if you have more fitness, you probably don't need to have as much attitude, training, and equipment. If you have a lot of attitude, like, one of our things that we like to say is embrace the suck, which means that, if it's really suck out there, the suck is there, embrace it and go through it, because otherwise you're going to get eaten by the suck. So you either eat the suck or let the suck eat you. So if you have that attitude, then you're basically...
My co-host has that attitude.
I try to. I don't know. I've never been lost in the woods. So.
Well, you run a lot, though, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
For him or just in general?
Steve used to run a lot.
It was a time where now I just run towards food.
What you're saying is resonated. That's what I've been focusing on for the past few years, and it's come to fruition a lot with a lot of the runs I've done. Just venturing out into the woods on my own and trying to find my way back and embracing that suck. Literally what you just said.
Yep. And, it's, even when Cora was playing soccer and she was, I think you were 10 or 11. And you know how on the soccer field, especially at that age, that it was raining and it was probably like 45 degrees, 42 degrees. So it's raining and cold, which equals usually misery. And she comes up to me and she's like, and everybody's out that way. She goes, I don't know, how do I get through this? And I told her, I said, this is what embrace the suck means. It's like, listen, on a sunny day and the temperature is perfect, like 70 degrees, everybody's playing their best game. You right now are in the cold rain where everybody else is shivering, can't wait to get off the field. If there's a scout here now, if there's anybody looking at you, you have the chance now to really pop up and stand out because you can embrace the suck. You can't do that when everybody's got, a nice day out there and everything's going well. So, I taught her embrace the suck from very early.
The funniest thing is you weren't actually just teaching me. You were coaching at the time. So you taught the entire team. And it was the craziest thing because you had all these little girls going out on a rainy day, like absolutely ecstatic and happy. And I think it actually scared the other team because the other little girls were like, why are they so happy? It's miserable outside. They were like, yeah, it's raining. Let's go. I actually had my best game in the rain. I scored like 5 goals and we won like 10 something.
Yeah. And I remember the coach actually sent me an email who wasn't there and said, that's really nice of you. Guy, he called me Guy. He goes, which is a funny story, and I'll get to it. He goes, hey, listen, Guy, that's you beat this team from this. And by the way, this was a Danbury Premier team that me and Pete Elsty took.
Yeah.
And they they get charged $720 a year just for field and ref time. We were playing against $4,000 a player teams that they pay. So the parents were obviously completely unhappy with what happened out there, because why did they lose to what they considered a town team?
Yeah.
And basically, I took players off the field and we still beat them. And I said, hey, listen, I said, I took players out. I can't help it that your players kind of folded. We're in the Premier League. And then fast forward 4 years, three or four years later,
there's a little bit.
Cora was playing or was at the /1 striker camp over at WestCon.
No longer there, unfortunately, but it is all across the country and international.
Which is like one of the best, striker/goalie camp. Now everything camp. I think it's called /1 soccer.
It is called /1 soccer because they put the striker and the goalies together.
So here's the funniest thing. We just won, states. We were very high up in there. And Cora comes up to me and she says, Dad, she goes, you always taught me, just like when we played in Lubis soccer, you always taught me to play with as many people as possible and learn from as many different coaches as possible. I think I learned from you and Coach Pete, and I think I need to move on. And so during that time, she got recruited off of that camp to go play for a National Premier League. And the coach saw who I was, didn't know who I was yet, but saw who I was and goes, oh, I'm not talking to him. You have to tell him that you're playing for me now. And then a year later, after we were playing, I was looking up for directions to the field that we're going to in Long Island, and I ran across his name. He ended up being the coach that I never met that wrote, hey, guy. And now he had my daughter, so I'm like, I had to go and tell him the story. He goes, wow. He goes, I was really a douchebag, huh? I'm like, yeah, you were. I'm like, and then you got the last laugh because you actually recruited my daughter away. And he was a great coach. I think he coaches for Magnus Alberta.
Yes.
He does the women's college, Magnus Alberta. He's a great coach, great guy. And, things happen in life. And I'm sure with your BOA life, you guys do the same thing, is that we don't believe, like with our company, we don't believe in luck. We believe in energy. You put good energy out there, guess what comes back? Good energy, most likely. You put bad energy out there, guess what's going to come back most likely? Yeah. Bad energy. So on that day, she's putting out, and all through that time, she's putting out good energy. So when people would say, oh, wow, Cora got lucky, no, she's putting out good energy. So guess what's going to come back is good energy. Just like, look at everything you've been doing, Steve. People could say you got lucky. You've been putting out good energy, and it comes back. I mean, me and you played against each other, and we played with each other, and no matter what happens, we're always laughing, and we're always shaking hands, and we're having a good time.
During the game, it's a battle, and then after the game, we're friends again. Or if we're on the same team, it's a little different. But the mindset, which is big, we always talk about that here. Mindset, having that, persevering, and then knowing yourself. So I love that you said with the pillars, it's like you may be, and I think you mentioned this before we were on camera, where 4 legs, but you can still survive with 3.
A table can stand with 3 legs.
Yeah,
but it's helpful to have all 4.
And then know yourself to know yourself and to know, all right, well, I have strength or I have fitness, but I need to, do better here. And equipment wise, I just love how they all play off of each other, and where you may be deficient, like a person in some areas, there's other areas that you just have to get,
Actually, before you answer, we have a great tool so that anybody can figure it out. On our website, we actually have a fake quiz. So if you take the quiz, you can actually figure out what your fitness level is, attitude level is, training, equipment, and then overall, you can kind of get suggestions, what are you supposed to build on in order to reach kind of, I guess what we want to call is like a threshold almost of where you should be to have like good fate for survival.
Do you have like a survival score?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you sound like if you're really bad, you just be like, oh, you have no chance. You're gonna
You know what? I don't think we actually have like a
We do have one if someone got them all wrong, because you purposely had to do it. So we have, I forgot what it was, but we do have something out there like,
are you even breathing?
I don't even leave the house. Yeah.
clearly no longer alive.
But I mean, to be a little bit selfish for calculated survival, because we do sell survival equipment and we innovate new equipment. Let's say that you have no fat. So you have no fitness, no attitude, no training. Guess what's the easiest thing to do?
Buy equipment.
Buy equipment. So there's my shameless plug.
You can always up your fate by buying shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's some of that equipment that you guys are offering?
Well, one of the biggest ones that we have coming out in the next month is going to be our bug out bag and our day hiker bag. So basically, those two bags are ones that you can just take out, throw it on your back. Everything's in there, so you can completely survive. If it's the bug out bag, you can survive for months. If it's the day hiker bag and it's a much smaller bag, if you give it to your spouse or maybe one of your kids and they're going out for just a day hike, that makes sure if they get lost. There's two things we say if you get lost: you got to be seen, you got to be heard, to be found. So in this bag is going to be everything so you can get seen and you can get heard, so you can be found, and it's just going to make your life too a lot more comfortable as you're sitting and waiting.
Well, I think what it comes down to too is people sometimes forget things. They don't know how to organize. They sit there and ask themselves too many questions about what they're packing. And I think probably the biggest indicator of that for me is when I do a quiz online, and I'll be like, "Hey, what do you think you're going to die of first in the wild?" And people think it's dehydration, and it's really actually the first thing that can kill you is exposure to the elements. People don't realize that, and I'd love to bring awareness to that, because then people will actually pack differently and think differently. But when we make a kit or a bag, or hey, he's about to show you a first aid kit. Well, I am actually.
So
that's our first aid kit without a label on it. I don't know how that happened.
Stop the
Because it's
bleed.
mine.
Please stop.
Yeah, so
I'm having at work, we're having a mandatory stop the bleed informational session.
So, and part of the things we're doing too is we're doing first aid, so people, what they should do when they come across an unconscious body. They don't know who they are, how to check. But like with this is one that we made because everybody should always have a first aid kit in their car, when they travel, and in their pack. And this one is really small, but it will help you on all sorts of things. We give you 2 bleed stops. Well, those 2 bleed stops will stop the bleeding on a bullet wound.
Yeah, you probably should tell them how we got those.
Yeah, so
20 grams?
so we got
Nobody gets them.
Yeah, we got the 20 gram bleed
Except the
stops, and the only ones that really get that are the military because of who else needs to really stop gunshot wounds. So I got with bleed stop, and they gave me the availability to get the 20 grams to put into our things because my background in the military. So we have that. We have everything in there, that from the smallest wound to just enough meds and everything else to make sure that you can stop the bleeding, stop whatever you need to do so you can get emergency help. It's just things like that we want to teach people. And I know Luke feels the same way. It's great when we have videos that we shoot out there. Maybe it's the anti-depression videos. Maybe it's the how to get lost, or his one that has like 5 million views is your compass a liar?
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out what did I do right. Like, why did that thing get 3.6 million views on TikTok alone?
But it's nice when you get those comments that goes, "Oh my God, I think you just saved a life," because people didn't know this.
And then you always get the other comments too, like, "Oh, moss always grows on the north side of a rock or tree," and I'm like, I had to do a video on the same rock and show people the moss that was on the rock I was standing on was actually on the south side. And everyone's like, "Oh, so moss grows on the south side." I'm like, no,
Grows
no, it
anywhere.
doesn't.
They're trying to be like, oh, this is a fake, or
Well, what's even better, there were so many comments, and we were going to do a video on this. There were so many comments that going, "My grandfather or my father taught me to follow the possum. A possum always leads you to a road." That's a joke. But, like, hey, possums always end up dead in the road, so they must always go to a road. It's a joke, but there's so many people out there that actually thinks that's a survival tip. So we were going to go ahead and catch a possum, and then me and Luke were going to follow this, and it's going to play possum every time it sees us. So we were going to be lost out there for a very long time. But this is what we're like, okay, we need to do simple, because we understand people don't have a long attention span. No. And we want to get into training them something within a minute's time in a short, so they walk away with maybe a life-saving tip. And when we get those comments back, man, it feels pretty awesome.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is like, because we can put these into shorts, which is pretty cool actually, because we can put these in shorts, and we really don't push too much of our product on our social media. People find us. They just find us. They find our website and all that. Yeah, we don't push a lot of product. We're trying to add value to our viewers. We're trying to give them something we're trying to save as many lives as we can with minimal effort, maximum results.
I think with all the misinformation out there, it's good. They learn to trust you, and then once they trust you, and you're giving them a lot of content and information, then they're going to support you with your equipment and all that stuff. And for you guys to do it in a short, fun way, I think that's kind of what we're doing. We do more long form here, but by having people come out and telling them their stories, it's just educating the public, just like survival, like whether it's dealing with stress as an attorney or managing a sickness or low testosterone. I mean, we talked about all kinds of crazy things, realizing the American dream. I mean, everything is really surviving, right? Enlightening people and giving them tools to have better lives. But I mean, this is like tool number one. Like if you're in a situation where you like need to be helped, if you were listening or watching some of our videos, like they're going to come in handy.
Yeah, and what's also really great about just learning survival, it's your basic, man. It's your core. When, if you haven't made fire without a lighter, and the first time you make fire, you're going to be ecstatic. You're actually going to feel like you've done something, you accomplished something. Like even with, Luke before I met him, which is kind of a funny story because I went to military survival schools, and he was a survivalist since he was a boy.
Okay, but here's the thing. I actually lived in Danbury. So I would freaking straight up, no, I'm serious. I would build spring pole snares and set them up in the backyard, which wasn't much of a yard at all. And I would catch like alley cats and stuff. I grew up in downtown Danbury, and here I am practicing all this stuff in my absolutely like dime-sized backyard. But I did what I could. And anytime I got out to a park or whatever, I looked really weird because my pockets were always stuffed with things I wanted to try out.
He still stuffs his pockets with random things like rocks from foreign places.
Okay, but those were cool rocks.
Exactly. My point.
I still have them on the nightstand.
A lot of your videos now, it kind of seems like you're out in the middle of nowhere where people like us who live in this area have no idea where you are. So what are you doing to keep your own skills up? Like, are you venturing out into the middle of nowhere locally? Are you driving up to upstate New York or something?
Well, they just went to Japan. So, I mean, we really can't get further away than going to which forests that you went to?
I think the only further is Australia.
Yeah.
I went to quite a few forests. I went to the Aokigahara forest, which, for the sake of the video, it's known as the self-unaliving forest. You know what I mean? So people go there to, to end it. And that's another big thing, out there. People were looking at my videos waiting for like a body or something, and that wasn't the reason I went out there, actually. The reason I actually went in that forest is because people spoke about how people get very lost in that forest. And it's called the Sea of Trees. And it's like on all this lava rock, this whole forest is it's incredible, the structure of that forest. It's like if you walk 10 feet in that direction, you will be going up, you will be going down, your foot can go through, like it'd go down a foot if you misstep. You're not stepping on rocks, you're not stepping on, full-on logs. It's an incredible forest. People said paranormal activity and the lava rock itself would like mess with your compasses and GPSs, and that simply wasn't really that true. I had one paranormal experience where the camera I had set up started focusing on something that wasn't there, and then it focused back on me. But other than that, I experienced nothing. It was extremely eerie at like night and with the darkness and the rain. But in the morning, with the sun coming through and the deer running, it was incredible. It was absolutely gorgeous forest. But yeah, I don't see the lava rock actually having an impact on the compasses or the GPSs unless you literally put your compass and GPS right up against the rock. Yeah, other than that, I had no issues.
So we try to go. We're going all over. We got invited to in Canada up to Yukon.
Which one? The ones we just met?
Yeah, up. They want to go up north. Or actually, we got invited to two different places in Canada. One is people that are opening. He's a coach, they do business coaching, and they want to bring the people over there, like the teams, and they want to teach them survival because they think that's a great team building. So me and Luke will probably go up there and set up a survival school for them so that they can actually bring the people in and they can bond. as they learn how to make fire together, how they learn how to make a shelter together and stay together, because it really is a great bonding experience. So I want to get back to what I was initially talking about. So Luke learned survival as a survivalist. And here's me gone through all these military survival schools. I'm thinking I'm this biggest badass in the world. And then from talking to him and learning from him, I realized, yeah, I can survive, but I can't survive for a long duration. We were taught to survive just to get from point A to point B. We need to get extracted. So we're not out there living. He actually had the experience and the knowledge to go out there and live. Like, I learned that if I did what I was supposed to do, in about 30 days, I probably would have serious intestine problems. I would have a whole bunch of issues that I couldn't rectify. But then on the flip side, here's something that Luke didn't have. He didn't really know how to get to point A to point B very quickly.
One of his biggest things, and that's why we talk about land nav a lot, and it kind of coincides with the whole getting lost thing. His experience with land navigation in the military is, what was that? Probably the best school for land navigation. So his training on that, we get these comments, man, where people are constantly questioning him and like, oh, you're stupid, this and that. And literally, you cannot question this guy. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to land nav.
I've taught so many soldiers land nav, and so I'll end up commenting back, going, "This is exactly how you do it. This is tell me when I'm wrong." Crickets.
You'll go back. You'll go back and all that.
Oh yeah, I go back on. There's some things. There's some things that you can, like, all right, I might not know. Land nav is not one of them. And these people, like you were saying, technology, I think it was you were saying technology, they're all relying on GPS, and they're relying on their phones, which is a GPS unit. And they don't know. Even a lot in the military right now do not know how to grab a USGS topographic map their compass, and go out and land nav. I did a video on pace count that has about 1 million, and people are questioning me on pace count. And I love when we get the questions on there. They don't.
Opinion.
Well, everybody has an opinion, but the best one is like, you're an American now, buddy. Why are you using kilometers in the metric system? We use miles. I'm like, because the United States military, we always use kilometers and meters, and your United States topographical maps, guess what they're in? Your grid squares are in meters and kilometers. And
you can break that down into tenths.
Yeah.
You can divide that easily. I mean, everybody keeps complaining about our system in America, miles and even inches and all that. You can't divide that up.
As a scientist, I hate the American. Yeah, no.
Imperial?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they call it?
It's the imperial
The imperial system. The imperial
Which
system
sounds
is
way more British than anything else.
It really does, yeah.
I love that you want to get into it with some of your own subscribers or people.
They're not our subscribers usually. They're just people that stumble upon our video. I feel like our followers are actually very thankful and usually quite nice.
Yeah, I don't read.
Sometimes the negative energy is probably good.
That is what actually it's a negative
drives you.
Well, it also boosts the post.
Because people argue with them too.
Yeah. And it's so funny, like, I can't believe how many times I was called un-American because I use the metric system, when the soldiers that protect you, that's all we use. And like, I'm like, wait, how am I un-American? I'm like, and then they go, well, this is what we use. I'm like, dude, get off the Call of Duty video game.
You're reading all the comments?
Oh, yeah.
They do read 90% of the comments.
Some of them make me laugh.
I feel like a lot of those people aren't even on Call of Duty. They're just on the couch.
No, they're just on the couch, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no,
But that's hilarious how you read everyone and get back to them. Put them right in their place.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we get a video that gets like I think I had a Bear Grylls survival knife video. That one did a couple million. I stopped reading the comments day one. Because there were thousands of comments. I couldn't get back.
Oh, they'll
Everybody
get buried. So
hating on Bear Grylls,
and
which is stupid.
And what'll happen is if like one of his videos has like 1,000, 2,000 comments, our subscribers now will go find a video that has almost no comments and be like, Luke, can you review this knife? Because they already know it will not be read.
There's so many comments on her videos being like, Luke, can you review a knife? And it's literally just her in the video.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys can go so many different places with that. That's what's so cool about it.
And it's also hard, as you know. This is why we have our meetings. This is why we have these two, because me and Luke, we just kind of want to run. We want to go this way and that way, and like, come on, guys, this is what we need to do. So
that's why Cora handles the customer service, not me.
I do, yeah.
Well, you can get lost, right? Because you can kind of go all over the place.
Literally lost, and we're supposed to be helping you get found, and we can get lost in our own material. So we're trying, and that's why when you brought up fate, I love it, because everything is supposed to fall around our fate, our fitness, our attitude, our training and equipment. And that's why we do anti-depression videos. One, it's something that we all hold dear to heart. I mean, being in the military,
Well, you're double whammy, because military and then as an attorney. I mean, our profession is rampant with.
Well, then I'm also married too, so that's the third one.
Well, that's the best part.
So, but yeah,
That's the happiest part of his life.
Yes, I agree.
as she gives you those great guys. Yeah. Watch the video of Romantic Dinner with Michelle.
I think I saw that one.
Yeah,
the turkey one with the
no.
the turkey with the.
No, that was
No, I'm
good.
saying I've seen that one. I've seen the turkey one.
Our first originals,
The
yeah.
flamethrower.
Yeah, I remember
That one
all
was
about
that was
humor.
our best video. Like
I mean,
right
you
off the
guys
bat.
do some outrageous
We got like
stuff.
260 views on it. It
Yeah,
was
no, the
awesome.
Thanksgiving video is probably still one of his favorites because he dies laughing every single time he hits me at the turkey.
Oh yeah. Like, literally, Michelle was running in here, and I
Raise the
threw
volume on
that.
that.
It was like a 25, 30.
It was a
pound
heavy turkey.
turkey, and you can hear in the video just went thump right against her.
Well, the first time he lofted it to me, and I was like, okay, this time he chucked it at me.
I don't know. So Nick's in Brookfield.
Yes.
So have you ever seen their truck? Your truck's got to be famous in town. It's not
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's
Oh,
pretty-
yeah.
So they have a truck. If you haven't seen it yet,
I'm sure I have.
I
But
mean,
tell me a little bit about it, because I know some of the viewers are going to start to envision all the.
All right, so it's
We'll
a
put a picture of it right here.
it's
Your
a
photo.
it's a CXT international CXT. It's the world's largest production truck ever made. It is a semi truck that's lifted with a truck bed.
Yeah, 16 ounces underneath the CDL regulation.
Jesus.
and then they've personalized it to have the calculated survival. I'm sure you're.
Yeah, calculate survival logo, plan to survive, refuse to die, because that's our motto, is right on there. And I'll tell you what, we go places and everybody's holding up their phones and taking pictures. One of the funniest incidents actually was I was in Stu Leonard's, and this is like I think we were only like 3 months into it, so
We just bought the truck.
so we were like 1,000 followers here and there, if that.
So we'd like look for an excuse.
We
to
would
leave
look
the house.
and we would also look to
They
give out
drive the
people
truck.
cards. Hey, go follow us, because we were counting subscribers at that time.
Yeah.
And we were in Stu Leonard's, and we were coming out. And, I'm dressed in the way I am, camo, and the cargo pants, and not realizing that I look the way I do. And there was this small couple
Yeah.
that was just by the truck, and they had a big like stuffed dog or something, and they were taking pictures. And then I saw them, and I when I say they were tiny people, they were little people.
Yeah.
And I saw them, and I started walking towards them. They saw me, and I guess my beauty, and they started walking away. So
Oh, they were running away, you said.
well, they started walking away. And then, me, I guess I'm like that dog. When you throw a frisbee, I start chasing it. So I start walking faster. They start walking faster. I pull out a card to give to them. Now I'm jogging. They full out sprinted to their car. They got in their car. Now she's dying
dropped
laughing
everything. I was
because I'm not even realizing that they're running from me. And I'm just trying to hand them a card. They squeeze down the window, and I put the card through there. I'm like, no, that's our truck. Take pictures, post it. And they're like, okay, sir. and I get back,
was in
and
tears.
I looked at him like, did I just chase that little couple across Stu Leonard's parking lot? And now I realize they're scared to death of me. And it was like funny. And there's a whole bunch of other people just looking at Stu Leonard's laughing, going, dude, why is that guy chasing those two little people across the...
Guess we're not getting them as a subscriber.
He's a passionate man, ladies and gentlemen. I knew you were 100% behind this because really a similar reason that I feel about this show. It's like my life was going in the right direction. My law firm, like yours, I mean, not to the extent of the volume that you guys do, but I was doing very well. I was pursuing a career where I was lucky then to get a new job. I said, in this part of my life, I shouldn't need two jobs, but now I have two jobs. But I always looked forward to, most of all, and even though it was time away from my family and time away from Nick's family, we always look forward to coming here and having these podcasts, like meeting people and talking and hearing their stories. And I'm like, that's how I know I love it, because I've got a lot going on and I still want to be here as much as I want to be anywhere else. And we were fortunate during unfortunate times. We talked about this before we went on, live or whatever we call this. how when most people were probably scared, and in the beginning, I think you and I probably were, and Michelle, that maybe our businesses would take a nosedive because we do real estate and law, and it did the opposite.
Yep.
Right? It went crazy. And during that time period, when we were really busy and doing well, you were still amped about doing this. I'm like, he must really, because at a time where you're busy and you have something going for you, that you were so like fanatic about pursuing this. I'm like, he really loves this. Because at a time where he doesn't need to do anything else because he's got something that I know is going well, he's pursuing this hardcore. I knew you were like all in.
Well, most of my life, I spent doing the military thing, and then I left that to raise Cora, to have my daughter and be there for her.
To prove your mother-in-law wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
But I was gone 9-10 months out of the year, so I wanted to be around and to see her grow up. So when Luke came to me with like this whole idea and to do things, it really just spoke to me going, wow, this is what I love and this is what I like doing. And now that we have so many subscribers, like when I put out that anti-depression or the PTSD,
it reaches people and it helps.
It reaches people. And
You're making a difference.
And they do. And they say, thank you. Thank you for doing this because, I'm going to hold on another day. And, or I what you said to me rings true. And, we've had other people comment going, hey, listen, man, if a guy like you can admit that you have depression and had depression and you're helping us with it, that's awesome. I want to, realize how I feel and how we can help each other. And, it's like when people go through depression, if you guys talk to each other, you help each other out. And that's, it's such a great, strong message to send out that, what, if I helped you, that's great. But if you comment back, guess what? You just helped me too. And it goes around in like, the full stage or circle of life type of deal, where it just feels really good.
It's an uplifting circle rather than a downward spiral.
And it really
that's
does.
what you got to do. You got to get that spiral going up, not down.
Yeah, we've talked about that here before too. It's like sharing that, and especially guys are a little different than the girls are sometimes. That we don't open up about stuff like this, and then when you hear other people going through it, you just all of a sudden feel better because you're like, yeah, I feel the same way, or I've felt the same way, and that's okay. Where, when people don't talk, you don't know, am I the only one that feels this way? And then you go down that rabbit hole, and it just gets worse and worse.
Feel alone.
Be careful. Be careful listening to the voices in your head.
Yeah,
It can
it's
lead
that,
you down
that
the wrong
feeling.
way.
Yeah, exactly. It's the voice in your head, but you're alone. It's just you and your thoughts. So you're absolutely right. When you're talking about it and you're engaging, you don't feel alone. So naturally, that's very uplifting.
And when it comes down to it, really, the core of survival is that right there. In order to be a survivalist or survive, you actually need to want to survive. And
That's an excellent point.
Optimism helps, right? Wanting to.
that's why attitude is such a big pillar.
Yeah, attitude is one of the biggest words for us, is because, like, actually, Luke, that's pretty good. Listen, you're not going to make a fire. You're not going to go ahead and get found or survived if you don't want to.
You're going to be miserable when it's raining and it's cold and you can't get the fire started. And if you're already depressed, you're done.
Some of these stories resonate so much. The will to go on and live. You have the person that was lost in the woods or got trapped under a boulder and cuts their own arm off.
That guy wanted to survive, man.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you need to have that will to survive. I mean, geez, look at today's society. Look at, I think it was me and Michelle was just talking about it. I'm like, look at social media now. I know we're on social media and we're using it, but we're trying to use it for positive.
Yeah.
But man, when you go on the social media and you look at people's Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts, they're showing you only their best life. And people aren't realizing that that's not their entire life. They have issues just like you and everything else. They're only showing you what they want to show you. And, so social media in some regards, I think so long as people realize that you're not seeing inside that person and you're not seeing the hurt they might have, you're only seeing the good things, you're only seeing the new puppy they got or whatever they're celebrating. And some of them are probably not even that true. Don't be happy for them, but be happy for yourself.
No, you're right. Some of it's not even true. Never mind that it's their best moment, but it might not even be real,
Yeah.
which is a real problem we discuss all the time, is that you as like are we human beings, we're always trying to like, get perspective and see what we look.
What is the strongest word, Luke, in the English language? Perspective. That's.
Right.
I said if I ever got a tattoo, I was going to get the tattoo of that one word. And I was waiting to see if you were actually going to use it tonight before I brought it up. Perspective. Oh, brother, perspective is the huge word. Whether I'm having a good day or a bad day today is on how I perceive it. I still have a map that I have from Somalia, and I have a couple other things too. And if I think I'm having a bad day, I just take that out and I look at it. And guess what, Steve?
You get perspective.
I get perspective. That day really isn't that bad.
Yeah, I got to tell you, definitely the one thing that helps me with my any form of depression or anything like that really is perspective. It's being able to take a step back and look at the big picture. One of the things I've said, I even said it once on the channel, was that I could find myself in the heat of a moment. I could find myself stuck in a situation. I'm like, this sucks. This is it. This is a breaking point. This is whatever. But then I look back on my life and I take a look at the big picture. Life is a roller coaster. It goes up and down. You go back, you look, and you're like, well, heck, I've been here before, and I made it through. It just take a step back and look at the big picture, and that really is what helps me the most. And one of the biggest things is that I've always what causes my depression, if anything, is that I think that I'm in the way. I'm hurting people, and that's why I get depressed in that way. He gets depressed in another way, and I think that when people don't understand it, that there's so many different levels and different ways it works. They feel alone. If some people have told me that being depressed about that kind of thing is selfish. It's the most selfish thing you can ever do is be depressed about yourself, basically. And I just don't agree. And I'm getting a little off topic here.
No, I mean
you're opening up, which is something we don't.
But
do.
With the depression, my depression, I always say is because I don't feel like I was a good person. And so there's times, we've been married now almost 30 years. We're going to be 30 years in November. And, I love her to death. That's my best friend. She stuck through with me all through the crap I've been through. I always tell people, don't thank me for my service, thank her. The military spouse is one of the hardest jobs to ever have because I know where I'm going. Might not know where I'm going back, but I know how I am. She never knew. But one of the biggest things is that, like with depression, we can all help each other. So I get depressed for one reason, he gets depressed for another reason. It was years ago, I had a good friend of mine call me, and he says, listen, Erik, I need to talk. I'm not feeling good, which means he was feeling depressed. And I'm like, you know what, Joey? I'm like, I don't feel too good either. And he goes, oh, never mind. He goes, your depression's way worse than mine because of what you went through. I'm like, whoa, hold on a second, Joey. I'm like, that's not true. He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, well, first off, you don't know my depression. I don't know your depression. I said, but you know what? Think about it this way. We're both in a hole. The hole might be 30 feet down. We're both in that same exact hole. Why we're in that hole doesn't really matter. We're both in that hole, and we're looking up at 30 feet, and we don't know how to get out. And he goes, well, what do we do? I'm like, I guess we just start slowly making hand and foot holds to get ourselves out. And I said, he goes, what if it gets worse? I'm like, how's it going to get worse? He goes, well, what if we're in that hole now and it starts to rain? I thought about it, and this is how he helped me start getting over my depression, because I thought about what he said, and I said, you know what, Joey? I said, I welcome the rain. He goes, why is that? I'm like, because if it rains enough, my hole's going to fill up, and guess what I'm going to do?
Swim
and float right out. I said, so I welcome the rain, because it's going to get me closer to the top. And from just talking to him when he was going through his depression, I was going through mine, and coming up with that realization helped me deal with my depression from there on in. So now I treat it like it's the flu or a cold. Like, hey, listen, I was happy the other day, or I was good. I wasn't like this so depressed. And I got out of it. So now if I feel the depression coming on, I can tell that it's the flu coming on, and I might go quiet. I might, do everything else, but I know I'm going to hold on, and I know that I'm going to feel better because whatever's causing that, maybe it's hormonal, something going on in my head, whatever it be, I know I'm going to get past it, and I'm going to try to get past it, and I'm going to move forward. So when I was saying about Michelle is like, you know, when I used to get so depressed and I couldn't help myself, she would tell me, I love you. And I'll tell you what, man, it hurt worse. And it wasn't because of her. It's because I felt like I was so miserable about myself. I didn't deserve her love. So I actually just wanted to be by myself, be alone and everything else. And it's not right, you know? And I need to, and I figured out how to get out of it now and all this. And so, you know, maybe my way doesn't work for other people, but maybe telling my story on how I dealt with depression and how I felt during depression might help them figure out how to get out of their depression. Because, you know, at the end of the day, we're all in this thing called life together, man. If we don't help each other, then we're hurting each other. And let's stop, man. There's enough shit out there in this world. Let's just stop that, man. Let's fucking help each other.
You know,
Let's help each other.
but we always talk about that. We all are in this together. And that's why these like forums and your channel and your website and your business and your passion are going to help. Even we've always said, even if we help one listener, it's worth it, right? And the strategies that you can come up that you can think about from listening to other people and how they deal with stuff. It's the whole mindset of your company, really, right? Survival. Yep. It's like you use that to survive depression. You use it to survive. It's the depression's like, you know, it's like anything else. It's like you never know when something's going to come and smack you in the face. It's like everything's going along smoothly. My life is great. I can't believe this. I'm such a lucky person. And then, you know, you find out someone you love is, you know, terminally ill, or you lose someone you love. So it's like life is always going to throw curveballs at us, and we have to have our pillars or have our foundation or have our maps to get us out, you know, from being lost. So like just the whole theme of what you guys do, it really resonates with me and what we're doing. And I think it resonates. I think it's going to resonate with all of our listeners and all the people that subscribe to your channel, because again, it's just really tools, right? Really tools, equipment to help us survive. And I can't thank you guys enough for sharing a very personal story in your journey. And it's similar to the journey we're on, but different. Have you find that it's opened a lot of doors or opened a lot of new relationships up, or, you know,
I think for all of us, yeah.
And it's a fun thing. We meet people on vacation. We've actually
we're down in Mexico, yeah.
People wear our shirts and they're like, oh my God, I know that company.
I'm a subscriber.
Oh,
Seriously.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of Mexico, and it's just a neat community that's out there and following, and you get to meet the best people.
And you saw our logo, right? It's on the,
Yeah, it is.
so I don't know if
Now that
so it's plan to survive, refuse to die, but that is the Norse compass that we have. And the Norse compass was used for two different things.
My
It was,
sister actually did the art.
yeah,
Really?
Yeah, we keep everything
There's
all
a
in the
family
family.
affair. I love
Emily's art. She's really good.
So basically what we did, why we chose the Norse compass, because it means two things. It helped the Vikings find their way through the ocean and all that, but it also was a moral compass to them. It helped them find their way through life. So when we chose that, we all agreed that we were like, yes, and that's why his sister ended up drawing it and doing everything together. And it has the axe and the Pathfinder torch, which is the Army Pathfinders matched with the Olympic torch, you know, to show the way through. So that's what we always wanted this company to be in the beginning. We wanted it to be not only to survive in the wild, but survive inside you, and metaphorically. And it's huge to us.
Yeah, I think that's probably why you're getting so much, you know, positive feedback. It's because it really resonates with people, because it has so many different, you know, lives. I love it. I remember when you were first, pretty early on. Remember, I tried to commission you to make me a sword, which I'm still gonna do.
You want that katana, man?
But you were
I'm not folding it though.
He was convinced that he was gonna have. He's like, I'm gonna have 100, 1 million subscribers. You wait, you know. And this is when you were like starting. You were convinced, and now it's come to fruition. It's crazy that you just like put it out there and it happened.
You know what I think a lot of it is that when we shoot our videos, you can tell that we're genuine and we believe in it, and we don't just dismiss people. Well, of course, the basement opera. We don't even dismiss the basement opera.
No, you don't.
You respond to them probably more than you do to your like
We
loyal
do reply to the
subscribers.
Kukks.
Oh, we have some good loyal subscribers though, which is awesome. Like
I mean, the first March that we did, we had a guy,
Yep.
Bearded Wonder. He actually went out there on his own because he couldn't come down to Connecticut.
For the
and
22
did
mile.
22 miles with 22 pounds.
And he actually did it. I
He
think he
did
did
it.
like 20 miles, and then he had to take a break. And
And then he went back out because he
And he
saw our
did.
video and he went back out and finished it. And at that time, I think we had a total between all platforms. No, about 500 subscribers between all. And this guy actually went out and did a 22-mile ruck with 22 pounds on her back for the 22 soldiers who commit suicide every day. And, you know, like that.
We were so touched.
And that, I think, drove us to even go more, wow, you know what, we got one guy, and he's thanking us, and we're thanking him, and we ended up sending him some of our free merch, and, you know, and it's just, it's great. Like, even on my Facebook, we have some of our subscribers find our own Facebooks, and, you know, it was Cora's birthday last week, or 2 weeks ago, last week, and they're on my Facebook wishing Cora happy birthday.
What's your birthday?
It was the 25th of April. Yeah.
So kindred spirits. I'm the 26th of April. I'm a Taurus.
Oh, so how's
That is her only feedback on that is just stubborn. not happy birthday, not anything else, just
Loyal,
stubborn.
loyal.
No, she doesn't care about that, just stubborn.
Stubborn and loyal. We are stubborn, I will say that. It's amazing how
we seen you two on the soccer field playing together. Yeah, you're both stubborn to each other too. Yeah, it was like two bulls. Yeah.
I think that's a good quality in terms of surviving. That's for sure. I can't wait for us to try to maybe do. If he's going to do a march, Nick, we got to get.
Yeah,
him
we're
in.
gonna build up the F in your fate real quick.
We're gonna invite you to do one of his legs of his 4x4 so the Goggins the 4x4
Yeah.
4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours, which is he does it by himself.
We'll have to double the ruck this time. Put some weight on. The last time I did it in the daylight hours, I put a weight vest on for all the
weighted
legs
ones. Yep.
During light time because I didn't want to be out at night on the road with that thing on. But I had the weight of my daughter in it, and that was pretty intense. I mean, I got through it just naturally, like endorphins were running and everything, but I wanted to step it up a little bit from the first year, and that was fun. So,
But when the endorphins run out, guess what you have to embrace?
exactly, it did suck, I have to say, and there's something special about that because that's where you find yourself.
Yep.
That's when it sucks, you realize that you just have to rely on your training and your experience. And Goggins always says this thing: he reaches in the cookie jar, so he dives back in and thinks about his past experiences and realizes how much of a badass he is, and that's why he's able to do hard things and embrace the suck. And you touched on that earlier. I forgot what you were saying, but it's kind of going back to realizing where you came from and how bad it could be, and you were touching on perspective and everything. And it like you were saying again, it comes full circle. Like it's all related, and it all comes back to that perspective.
Yep. Yeah. No, I think perspective is huge. So I mean, throughout your podcast, I think we talked about it a lot. But I mean, if I had to leave with one thing, if we could teach people out there one thing, it is the word perspective. And because I mean, if you actually change your perception, you change your life. I mean, that's exactly how it is. You change how you perceive your marriage, you change your marriage. You change how you perceive your career, you change your life. You change how happy you are. And it's just amazing. And then people be like, well, I shouldn't have to change for anybody. Actually, I disagree with you. There's one person you should change for, and that's yourself. Man, and, it's like I always wanted to write a book on using the word manipulation. People say that's a bad negative word to manipulate someone. Dude, you need to manipulate yourself every day. Like when you were running, you needed to manipulate yourself to keep running, to convince yourself. Like when I went through SFAS, Special Force Assessment Selection, there's something there called Team Week. I had to convince myself. I had to brainwash myself to get through each one of those events and go on to the next one. Because what I would say is like, oh man, you know what? I'm going to finish this event because I'm not going to quit during it. But as soon as I'm done, I'm not going to quit on my team. But as soon as I'm done, I'm out. I can go back to what I was doing. I don't need this. And then you get to the end, you get to the finish line, you're like, endorphins kick a little bit back in, you're feeling good, and you tell yourself, maybe the next one is not so bad. Guess what the next one is? And every next one, they got worse. I knew they were getting worse. But in my head, I was going ahead and I was convincing myself to get through it. So I think that as a people, we need to change our perception about days, about life, about jobs, about family, about everything, to perceive it to be better and manipulate yourself to do those things, to get things done. If you're going to read a book, finish the book. If you're going to start a project, maybe learn a new language, do it. And convince yourself and manipulate yourself to do it. We knew we worked so much. We all don't have enough time to do what we want to do.
Right.
But if you're going to start something, man, see it through and finish it and feel how good it feels to finish things that you start. I don't start a whole bunch of big things at one time, but start something. Like, you know what? If you never made fire, watch Luke's video on making fire. It won't take you long to learn how to do it, and you'll feel good.
And it's amazing how, like, one match is such a little chance that you will actually get a fire going. It's harder than you think. If you think you know how to build a fire, I challenge you, go outside.
Windy and rainy out.
On a nice day, go ahead. Do it on a nice day. Go ahead, knock yourself out. But go out with one match. And don't walk back inside and get another match. And obviously, if it's a strike anywhere match, you're fine. If you need to bring the strip out, cool.
Yeah.
But do it. I challenge anybody, start a fire with one match.
I will definitely take
And
you
then
up
do it
on-
in the rain.
I will take you up. I will definitely not do it on a windy, rainy day. But yeah, self-doubt creeps in, and we try to give ourselves excuses to get out of things. But I like what you're saying. It's like, get perspective, and that's what we do in conversation. We get perspective about ourselves, not necessarily what the world thinks about us, but what we really think about ourselves, with input from others, because we want to be grounded in reality. But I love that. It's motivate yourself, manipulate yourself, like push yourself to do things that make you uncomfortable, to make you better, to make you stronger, to evolve. And if we got one thing out of today's show, it's stick with what you are good at. Get close with your family, and dreams can come true, and you can build unbelievable businesses that can get millions of ears and eyes. I can't believe that you guys have grown as quickly as you have in such a short period of time, and I can't imagine what you're going to be one day. But we've monopolized a lot of your time, and time is our most precious asset, so I don't want to do that. But my co-host always likes to ask our guests a certain question.
Yes, I can't wait for 4 more different responses. So obviously this is the BOA life, the good life. We always like to know, what does a good life mean to our guests. So let's go down the line a little bit. Give us some of your thoughts on what's a good life mean to you.
Having a family and a community that you enjoy being around, because every day is a wonderful day.
Love that.
Yeah, that's definitely one of it, is family. And family doesn't necessarily have to be blood. It can also be like people that you appreciate. Like, my family is bigger than just the 4 people here. It's bigger than just who's actually related to me. It's the people who I went to school with, who I got through grad school with. Like, anybody who I've met on my journey that I feel like I have a connection with, that's my family. So definitely keeping those connections and being there for them, and then in return them being there for you. That's basically happiness. That's where you can get your positivity from. And then also focusing on the positive, not the negative.
We're all in this together.
Living the best life you can for yourself. Doesn't mean living the best life. It means living the best life you can, with everything you got going, your ups and your downs, and just having your perception. And when I look back on my life, I just want to see that I lived a good life, and I perceive it to be a good life.
I just have to say, probably doing what you love, and affecting other people in a positive way. That's goodness. That's a good life to me. When I go to sleep at night and I know that I've affected people positively, then I feel like I've done a good thing. That's my good life.
Nice. Love it.
We love it. Thank you guys for being here tonight and listening to us, or during the day or whenever it is, and realizing that